General Hospital spoilers and updates hint that Willow Tate and Scout Kane may be in for some great bonding time, but it could end in disaster. Will Drew Kane's plan backfire and cause a major disaster? What if Scout dislikes Willow and becomes resentful? Cosette Abinante has been filming further scenes, which should air within the next few weeks. It has come to our attention that Cosette Abinante has recorded new sequences that will be televised shortly. Meanwhile, Scout has been notably absent from the recent family conflict, but that is anticipated to change soon. Willow has been in extreme distress as a result of her separation from Wiley and Amelia Corinthos. Willow has been devastated by the loss of custody. Drew is determined to do all necessary to help Willow reunite with her children, which has resulted in arrangements for a wedding so that they can show a united face in court. Drew's short-term plan. Nonetheless, Drew may devise a short-term strategy during this time. As Willow will soon become Scout's stepmother, Drew may believe they should have more opportunity to bond. Drew may believe that allowing Willow to feel like a mother figure again will help to heal her heart. Given Scout's struggles without Sam McCall, Drew believes that improving her friendship with Willow would benefit both of them. However, such a suggestion could have terrible consequences. Willow hasn't been in the best of mental health lately, making it difficult to predict how she will behave with Scout. Nonetheless, Scout may not accept her. Willow could have a meltdown, and Scout may resent her trying to replace Sam. Willow may have an emotional breakdown if something triggers her, allowing Scout to see everything up close. Scout may even witness Willow fade out and assume a new ego, especially if the tale revolves around dissociative identity disorder. Furthermore, if Willow's mental state deteriorates, she may become disoriented and mistake Scout for Amelia. This situation could result in Willow fleeing with Scout, leaving Drew in a panic while he hunts for both of them. Scout may dislike Willow's attempt to take Sam's position if she learns Willow is about to marry her father. Scout might panic if Willow goes off the deep end. Scout could end up stressing out over whatever predicament Willow finds herself in, and then seek refuge from Drew. To put it another way, if any of Cosette Abinante's future scenes include moments between Scout and Willow, it could foreshadow terrible news. Scout may even opt to flee from home, even if just to the Quartermaine mansion or her grandmother Alexis Davis's residence. She may even sneak into the Quartermaine boathouse and enlist Danny Morgan's assistance to keep herself hidden from Willow. Drew is expected to confront more family drama, according to General Hospital spoilers, so keep an eye out for any forthcoming shocks. Willow had always believed that healing comes in waves, some gentle and others crushing under the weight of past traumas and future worries. Her world had never been completely calm since her cancer diagnosis, but now that she was in remission, she was looking for something more than just survival. Wiley and Amelia filled her days with joy and love, but she still felt compelled to recover her own identity, not only as a mother or Michael's partner, but as Willow herself. So when Drew urged her to spend more time with Scout, providing her the opportunity to take on a role outside of her comfort zone, she accepted with caution. Scout was a curious, energetic youngster who was clever for her age and extremely intuitive. She possessed Drew's ambition and Sam's independence, but when she relaxed her guard, she revealed a sensitivity. Initially, their time together was restricted to brief, courteous conversations. Scout regarded Willow with courtesy but distance, just as she would any adult she did not know well. Drew's well-thought-out aim was to build a bond between the two in order to help Scout develop deeper emotional connections following a series of stressful life events. Drew had not foreseen how Willow would change during that process, and how it would throw his entire plan into disarray. First, Drew just noticed progress. Willow took Scout for walks in the park, assisted her with homework, and invited her to baking sessions in the Corinthos kitchen. Scout had laughed more that afternoon than she had in weeks. Michael smiled as he observed Willow's budding bond with the young girl, and fostered it at every opportunity. Drew, however, was focused on something else. Something deeper. Willow wasn't just being nice. She was emotionally invested, letting her guard down in a way that indicated she wanted this link just as much as Scout did. That made things more complicated. Drew had a long-term vision. He believed that by surrounding Scout with solid, nurturing adults, particularly Willow, who had faced and overcome her own challenges, he could help her develop emotional resilience. He wanted to be the father Scout needed after years of absentee parenting and erratic custody arrangements. But his personal feelings had begun to creep into the equation. He admired Willow, perhaps more than he should. Her strength, kindness, and grace enthralled him. Though he'd never crossed a boundary, it was getting more difficult for him to distinguish between what he wanted for Scout and what he was starting to want for himself. Willow, for her part, was ignorant of the emotional strain simmering beneath the surface. Her time with Scout was becoming the highlight of her week. She hadn't realized how much she missed interacting with people outside of her family. Scout was starting to open up in unexpected ways, expressing her dreams, worries, ideas about her father's decisions, and even her regret that Sam's new relationship with Dante was taking up so much of his time. Willow listened, never judging and always validating, and Scout gradually came to trust her more than she had most people. It didn't take long before others noticed. Sam, in particular, started to feel nervous. She respected Willow and valued her positive effect on Scout, but the closeness between the two was disconcerting. Sam had spent years attempting to reestablish her relationship with her daughter, and it appeared like Willow was accidentally stepping into her footsteps. Dante attempted to soothe her, saying it was a good thing Scout had more caring people in her life, but Sam couldn't shake the feeling that something was changing, and not necessarily for the better. Meanwhile, Michael remained supportive but somewhat distracted. The ELQ board had put pressure on him, and Carly had requested more time with the children. Willow was split between all the demands around her. She never said it, but Scout made her feel more seen and valued than anywhere else. The young girl relied on her, looked up to her, and listened to her in ways that Wiley, as a tiny child, could not. Willow loved Wiley and Amelia more than anything, but she couldn't deny the thrill she had from being a trusted mentor to a child who was just old enough to engage in deeper talks. Drew picked up on this and proceeded to plan additional opportunities for Willow and Scout to be together. He was cautious not to make it obvious, inviting Willow to assist with Scout's school project, suggesting a weekend trip to the museum, and even quietly indicating that Scout had asked for more one-on-one time with her. Willow agreed each time, drawn to the bond and wanting to see Scout develop. What none of them anticipated was how the emotional borders would begin to blur. One afternoon, Willow and Scout were working on a book report in the Coeur d'Alene library when Scout looked up and asked, "Do you think I could call you something special? Like, Aunt Willow?" The question caught Willow off guard. She smiled, her heart warmed by the sentiment, but her response was measured. "I would love that, but only if your mom and dad are okay with it." Scout nodded, apparently satisfied, but Willow's heart pounded with a mix of joy and fear. She hadn't expected such closeness, and now she wasn't sure how to proceed. Willow discussed the conversation with Michael that night. He smiled but was clearly distracted. "It's sweet," he replied absently, "but make sure Drew and Sam are included. You don't want to overstep." The comment, while logical, stung. Willow didn't feel like she was overstepping. She felt like she was giving. However, she began to realize that not everyone would perceive her role the same way. Drew was happy when he heard the story later. "That is huge, Willow. You're making a significant difference." His eyes lingered a little too long, and his tone was warmer than normal. Willow brushed it off, but something about his expression disturbed her. It wasn't inappropriate, but too much. Sam, who had heard about the Aunt Willow moment via Scout, met with Drew the following day. "She's moving into maternal territory, Drew. It is not her fault, but we need to set boundaries." Drew, Scout's mother, defended Willow, emphasizing that everything was benign and beneficial to Scout, but the chat had frightened him. He realized he had been disregarding the narrow line between useful assistance and emotional substitution. Even worse, he wasn't sure Willow was aware she was crossing it. Tensions began to rise discreetly but gradually. Willow began to see the uneasiness in Sam and even Dante, who attempted to remain neutral but couldn't ignore the undercurrents. Michael, while still supportive, became increasingly preoccupied and less attentive to Willow's emotional needs. He didn't realize how much Willow relied on her time with Scout, not just for Scout's sake but for her own. The plot twist occurred one evening when Scout had a tantrum at Drew's place. She had overheard a phone call between Sam and Dante discussing custody logistics and panicked, believing she was being passed around again. Willow happened to be there, assisting with supper, and Scout raced directly into her arms, sobbing violently. Willow calmed her softly, murmuring reassurances and cuddling her through the storm. Drew went in, saw the sight, and felt a mix of appreciation and panic. Later he told Willow that, while he appreciated everything she was doing, it might be time to step back a little. The words wounded harder than Willow had anticipated. "Step back?" she asked, perplexed. "From what exactly?" "From being the constant," Drew remarked gently. "Scout needs to rely on her parents. Believe maybe. I pressed too hard. I did not intend for you to become so important in her life. I was trying to help her and you, but I may have made matters worse." Willow nodded slowly, acknowledging the ramifications. She had poured her heart and her into something that now seemed to be slipping away. She recognized how much she'd grown to adore Scout, not only as the youngster she was assisting, but as a person who filled a void in her own heart. Drew's departure seemed like a betrayal, and she couldn't blame him. Michael, noticing Willow's developing withdrawal, inquired about what had changed. She attempted to explain, but her words failed. It was not about Scout. It was about how she had rediscovered significance, and now it was being retracted like a lifeline. Sam, for her part, felt both relieved and guilty. She didn't want to upset Willow, but she needed to maintain her status as Scout's mother. Dante told her that the problem had never been black or white. Everyone tries to do the right thing. However, what is appropriate for one individual might be harmful to another. Drew's approach, which was to help Scout bond with a nurturing adult and settle emotionally, had unexpected consequences. Willow and Scout's emotional connection had become too intense, filled with unfulfilled demands and unsaid traumas. He had attempted to control the emotional result of his daughter's life, which had destabilized several relationships, including his own sense of self. Willow, heartbroken, began to limit her time with Scout. She refocused on Wiley and Amelia, immersed herself in family life, and sought fulfillment in what she had. Michael sensed the quiet anguish in her eyes. "You're grieving something," he murmured one evening. "I am," she admits. "But it's not something I can explain." Drew attempted to make apologies by sending letters of thanks and offering to reconnect over time. But Willow maintained her distance. She had learned a harsh lesson. Even well-intended emotional links can become twisted. She was not angry. She simply wanted space to heal. Scout, as resilient as ever, made adjustments. She still asked about Willow on occasion, and they exchanged pleasantries whenever they saw each other. But the tie they had formed, a profound, unexpected connection, had transformed. Not gone, but altered. Like so many romances in Port Charles, it became another chapter filled with love, change, and heartbreaking goodbyes. General Hospital spoilers for Monday, July 7th state that Daisy Gilmore's stalker appears to be planning their next move, while Sonny Corinthos recommends some damage control. Jen Sidwell will also play the blame game. Here's what GH fans should expect. For Begin, Rocco Falconeri will question Lulu Spencer about who gave birth to him. Rocco will even ponder if Britt Westbourne is his real mother, but Lulu assures him that is not the case. Britt stole the embryo and carried Rocco as a newborn, but he is Lulu and Dante Falconeri's biological kid. Despite Lulu's attempts to explain everything, Rocco will be furious at the knowledge that has been concealed from him. Dante will certainly receive updates and try to explain them, but Rocco will need some time to process what he has learnt. Of course, Rocco will likely expose Brooklyn Quartermain as the source of his queries and concerns. Brooklyn is unaware that Rocco saw the paperwork on Britt and Ben Westbourne, therefore she will chat to Cody Bell about abandoning her revenge plot. Unfortunately, Brooklyn will enrage Lulu and face this mama bear's vengeance shortly. Meanwhile, Giovanni Gio Palmieri will question Carly Spencer about Sonny and gain a new perspective. Carly may help Gio understand that there are advantages and disadvantages to having Sonny in your life. Sonny loves his family, but there's no denying that being related to him has risks. The fire drama that Michael Corinthos and Christina Corinthos Davis experienced is proof of that. Anna Devane's Sidwell inquiry will get her nowhere. Sidwell will not concede anything damning and will instead blame Sonny for everything that is wrong in Port Charles. Since Sidwell blamed Selena Wu for the bar fire, he may propose Anna investigate what Sonny did to set her off. Sidwell will also blame Sonny for Natalia Ramirez's death, therefore he will encourage her to go pester Sonny instead of him. Speaking of Sonny, he'll consult with Laura Collins on a damage management strategy. Laura will seek assistance in order to reduce the mob mayhem and, perhaps, prevent Ezra Boyle from taking over her mayoral seat. Carly will undoubtedly have questions once Jocelyn Jacks publicly dumps Vaughn. Jocelyn may believe their fictitious romance should end if it is complicating their WSB task. Nonetheless, Vaughn and Jocelyn did share a genuine kiss outside Charlie's pub after the fire. Despite the contrived breakup, Jocelyn and Vaughn could continue to blend business and pleasure behind closed doors. Over with Sasha Gilmore Corbin, she will find something horrifying. This will most likely feature another bizarre Daisy incident at the Quartermain mansion. Daisy may go missing at some point, but for the time being, someone may simply leave an ominous clue. According to General Hospital teasers, Sasha will panic after receiving some unsettling news, so stay tuned. Daisy had spent years in the shadows, quietly nurturing a passion that had spiraled out of control. What began as an infatuation had grown into a dangerous fixation. No one in Port Charles realized the extent of her descent, not even those she had previously misled. She had previously been dismissed as a foolish, lonely girl looking for significance. She had become much more unpredictable. Her recent behavior had raised red flags for several people, but no one could have predicted her next step would leave a trail of destruction in its wake. Sonny Corinthos wasn't new to trouble. After decades of overseeing mob operations, he had learned to handle crises with calculating patience, but nothing about Daisy's situation felt familiar. It wasn't just her stalker tendencies that bothered him. It was how deeply she had woven herself into the lives of others around him. She had become invisible, flowing like vapor through his family's inner circle. He couldn't ignore it any longer, especially because Daisy had been sighted at Donna's school several times in the previous week. The final straw was a blurry photo texted to Sonny of Avery on the playground, with Daisy's unmistakable shadow watching from behind a chain-link fence. He had rallied his guys, increased security, and spoke with Jason, who was already observing someone else from a distance. Jason had long since learned not to underestimate silent threats, and Daisy was everything but loud. She had the kind of wildness that simmered beneath the surface. That was the most deadly sort. Sonny needs to handle the issue before anyone else was wounded. But he understood it went beyond protection and bodyguards. Daisy was motivated by something else, something personal, perhaps revenge masked as an obsession. Meanwhile, Daisy had slid between the cracks once more. Her most recent move had involved a daring break-in at the Quartermain home. She hadn't taken anything. Instead, she had left a single white daisy on Willow's dresser with a note that read, "You chose wrong. Now I choose." Willow's spine tingled with the message. She quickly contacted Michael, who was out of town for ELQ business. Sonny was notified, and everything became more urgent. Daisy wasn't stalking for attention anymore. She was escalating. Every motion she took was deliberate, leading to an undetermined climax. Simultaneously, the Sidwell case was receiving renewed examination. When Grant Sidwell came in Port Charles, his polished appearance and calm manner had disarmed even the most wary of individuals. But suddenly, his public reputation was deteriorating. A local reporter linked him to a failing real estate deal that devastated scores of lives. Families lost their homes, savings, and futures. The rumors intensified as the blame game began. Sidwell, ever the smooth operator, had a statement prepared. He denied any involvement and blamed others, alleging he had been duped by his own business partners. The people was not convinced. Neither was Sonny. Sonny had a strong interest in Sidwell's business, since some of his legitimate real estate transactions had just become involved with one of Sidwell's sham firms. If Sidwell was involved in fraud or criminal activity, Sonny's name may appear in the wrong headlines. That could not happen. His next priority was damage control. He contacted Diane Miller, who promptly began an internal audit. They needed to be clean. Anything that appeared dirty may be used against him in court or in the media. Daisy, meanwhile, was emboldened by her successful infiltration. She found the media frenzy surrounding Sidwell amusing. It was an excellent distraction. Nobody was paying attention to the less glamorous narrative of a girl who had become obsessed. She utilized the turmoil as cover to get closer to her true goal, Christina. It wasn't simply Willow or Michael who piqued her interest anymore. Daisy felt deceived by the entire Davis family, especially Christina. Christina had once promised her trust and friendship, but it had been broken long ago. Daisy felt justified in pursuing retaliation. She had created a twisted narrative in which Christina was the root of all her suffering. Christina, uninformed of Daisy's grudge, was busy with her pregnancy and the strain it caused between her and her family. Her job as Molly and TJ's surrogate had started out as a gesture of love, but now that emotions were high and boundaries were blurred, every interaction seemed like walking on a minefield. When she began receiving anonymous messages, she assumed they were from people who were against surrogacy. However, the tone of the messages changed immediately. They became personal. One remark stated, "Betrayal always comes full circle." Jason was the first to make the link. When he discovered Daisy had previously lived at the Dawn of Day house with Shiloh and had unfinished business with Christina, the puzzle pieces began to fall into place. He transmitted the information to Sunny, who promptly ordered a complete surveillance operation on Christina's residence. That night, they discovered a little listening device placed within her vent. Daisy had listened the entire time, absorbing information. The question was, for what? Back in Sidwell's office, another tempest was brewing. His aide Tara had discovered a flash drive while cleaning out an old storage drawer. Curiosity got the better of her, and what she uncovered had the potential to destroy Sidwell's kingdom. It was a trove of emails, bank papers, and audio recordings, all indicating that Sidwell not only knew about but organized the illicit real estate transactions. She hesitated what to do. Turning him in may end her career or worse. But remaining silent meant being complicit. Tara selected a third choice. She transmitted the data to Sunny anonymously. Sunny's face turned sad as he read the text. Sidwell was significantly worse than he had expected. This was not only a civil scandal, it was criminal. Sunny now had leverage, but leverage can also bring heat. Diane warned him to proceed carefully. If Sidwell retaliated, using such information may implicate him. But Sunny had never flinched in the face of peril. The only concern was how he would play his next hand without burning down the entire house. Daisy's behavior became more unpredictable with time. Her next move astounded her. She broke into Christina's apartment and left behind a scrapbook. It was packed with photographs, articles, and frightening annotations. Some pages focused on Christina's life, while others on Willow, Michael, and even Sasha. She had labeled it "My Real Family." The final page contained one word scribbled in red ink. "One of us has to go." That unsettling message drove Sunny to hide Christina. She was hesitant, but agreed after seeing the scrapbook for herself. The manhunt for Daisy increased. Jason tracked her final burner phone to a place near the old DoD house, which is now condemned and forgotten by the majority of Port Charles. When they raided the building, she was gone, but not before leaving another calling card. A daisy with a gunshot lodged through the stem and a message that read, "Still not listening." Sunny was on edge and Jason even more so. They were taught to cope with assassins, cartels, and government agents. But this was different. Daisy acted outside the rules. Her mind was a maze of twisted logic, and her preoccupation shielded her from dread. They knew she'd make a mistake at some point, though. She was unraveling. Sidwell, on the other hand, tried to purchase silence. He surreptitiously contacted local elites and media sources in an effort to cover up the real estate scam. He also attempted to bribe the reporter who had initiated the probe. But the tale had gained traction, and when Sunny disclosed vital documents to the press, the narrative shifted against Sidwell. His kingdom fell apart in less than a week. Stocks collapsed, investors fled, and his reputation was irrevocably tarnished. In a desperate effort, Sidwell accused Sunny of coordinating a smear campaign, and went on record with the charge. It backfired. Nobody took a known fraudster seriously, especially Sunny, who suddenly had more legal protection than ever. In the midst of all this, Christina decided to emerge from hiding and confront Daisy. She didn't inform Sunny, afraid he'd stop her. She set up a meeting using a fictitious social media account, professing to be sympathetic to Daisy's condition. Christina thought she needed closure, even if it meant taking a risk. The meeting was scheduled to take place at Pier 43 shortly after midnight. Christina wasn't aware that Jason had previously intercepted the texts. He followed her to the meeting site. Daisy became virtually unrecognizable, with her previously sweet manner replaced by something hollow and deranged. She approached Christina with something in her hand, murmuring, "You finally came back to me." Before Daisy could make another move, Jason appeared from the shadows, revolver pulled. "It's over," he stated coldly. Daisy halted, looked at Christina, then Jason. A tear slipped down her cheek. "You ruined everything," she muttered, lifting what turned out to be a snapshot rather than a weapon. The image depicted her and Christina during their DOD days. "This was the only time I was real." She was taken into custody, mentally damaged but physically uninjured. Christina, shaken, went away without speaking. Sonny watched from a distance, hands in his pockets, knowing that the next storm would approach soon after this chapter ended. The streets of Port Charles never remained tranquil for long. And with Sidwell destroyed and Daisy neutralized, he could finally breathe for now. But every decision had an impact, and Sonny understood better than anybody that calm in his world was only fleeting. According to General Hospital spoilers, Michael Corinthos may offer Willow-Tate a visitation package, but Drew Kane would most likely advise her against accepting it. Drew will issue a warning to Willow between July 7th and July 11th. Drew will provide some warnings and possibly try to put a stop to any deal Willow may reach with Michael. Willow, on the other hand, is eager to spend time with Wiley and Amelia Corinthos as soon as possible. The longer Willow is separated from her children, the more inclined she is to compromise. Although Michael had planned to postpone the visitation hearing and ultimately ensure Willow received nothing, his position seemed to be softening. In the July 3rd episode, Michael was heartbroken after Wiley complained about the judge and expressed a desire to visit his mother. There is no assurance that Michael and Willow will be able to agree on a solution, but Michael may be prepared to try. Willow and Michael appear to be planning a meeting, which Drew does not approve of. Drew clearly wants to control Willow, so he won't appreciate the thought of her giving in to any of Michael's demands. This is especially true since Michael believes Drew is the real problem. Willow appears to be going forward with her rendezvous with Michael despite Drew's caution. Michael may advocate for a one-on-one session in which they discuss what is genuinely best for their children, which is having both parents in their life. Nonetheless, Michael will not tolerate Drew's manipulating techniques or anything that could endanger Wiley and Amelia. Willow's marriage to Drew could still be a deal-breaker for Michael. According to GH Previews, Michael will explain out his requirements in the July 10th episode. Michael appears to be pitching his side of this potential bargain, leaving Willow to decide whether she can meet him halfway. Even if Willow isn't willing to cancel the wedding, Michael might at least request a delay. Michael may argue that there are already too many changes for the kids and persuade Willow to put the marriage idea on hold for the time being. Of course, Michael may also specify that Willow's encounters with Amelia and Wiley must take place without Drew present. Michael may wish to supervise these visits and ensure Drew stays as far away as possible. Even if Willow makes a deal with Michael, Drew may sabotage it. Drew's behavior appears to be consistent with Michael and Willow's attempts to prioritize the children. Plus, the truth about Jen Sidwell bribing Judge Eva Heron has to come out at some time. That might reignite the custody dispute, so keep an eye out for any shocking developments. According to General Hospital spoilers, the Willow, Michael, and Drew plotline will eventually become increasingly messy. Michael's world had been whirling for months, caught in a tornado of treachery, familial allegiance, and growing tension. After Willow's medical crisis, things should have returned to normal. Instead, everything remained shaky, including their love. Michael still loved Willow, but the trust they had carefully constructed appeared to have fissures that neither of them could totally ignore. Michael couldn't blame Willow for leaving with the kids to seek space and healing, but he couldn't stop missing her.